Everybody, I'm going to show a little bit what happens behind the scene. Obviously, I'm into making these web pages, just written in HTML to kind of tell the story of Rappan Athuk. But I'd like to show you a little bit about probably some of the more exciting challenges of a mega dungeon. And the first thing I want to show you is the complexity of the dungeon themselves. Even though I showed a map, it's really hard to fathom how much work it takes to kind of make yourself go through one of these things. All right. And I think the honesty is just kind of look at the way this is set up. So I came in through the ground level, and as you can see, you have only one choice. It's a very linear path. You go straight down into level one, right? But if you look back, once you get into level one, you ended up with some choices. Okay, we were on level one, and you could either go level two, go back somewhere on ground level, but you can go to level 9. So when it comes to actually preparing an adventure, because my guys were rolling dice to determine what direction they're going to go, they could have went to level 9. So I had to put level 9 together here. And in putting level 9 together, I have to put all the stuff that you're seeing across the top. And that takes time. It'll probably take me close to an hour to put something like this together. I'm actually getting faster at it, but still, it's a challenge, okay? And so when you look at something like now I'm down in level 2, and once you get into level 2, I have to have 4B set up, I have to have level 3 set up, and I have to have level 4 set up based on the fact these guys are moving through. I already have ground ready. So when they're moving through, I don't know where they're going to turn. And if they decide to turn there, I want to make sure I have the next adventure set up. And I know it's kind of weird to kind of do this because actually I've already cut them all up in my original thing over here. I put all these together when I was playing it live and in person. So if someone's down at 4A, they're down here going, and I'm like, okay, you're going to go now to 6A. I can easily jump back and boom, find 6A on this thing and then show them, now you're in 6A and you're playing. Now what's cool about this, when I was playing live and in person, I would click this. I do, let's say I have another monitor, or basically it's a projector showing this up on the wall. I would click 2 and I would actually just let them see the one image up on the wall. And so they kind of didn't know how to hold a map. They had to map the whole thing or they weren't big in trouble, right? Obviously you can't do this when you're doing solo. You have to know both ends of it. But you can imagine this took tons and tons of time to put together, but totally fun because I kind of like tinkering with this thing. On the other end of it, to my chagrin, Frog Got Games came out with the beautiful maps years after I put this together. And so then you can turn around, you can look and see what these maps look like. But if you want to spend some money and you're going to play live, like this is going to be level 3, look at these maps. They're just simply gorgeous. And they're unlabeled, which is totally nice. So you guys can come through here and you could have, you lay this down for your party members. Or this is blown up as big as you can. And you could just kind of roll through it on your screen. And they kind of don't know where they're going, right? But these were a nice addition. I had to have them, and it was a birthday present from my wife. And I played live where they just kind of come in. Even after I cut up all those maps, they come in, and where do you guys want to go? And they come down through here, and it depends. This is actually a lot more challenging for them because there's no numbers. So they can't just number where they bend. They kind of actually have to draw the terrain. Well, number ones, like I said, well, we went through this. They make a flow chart is really what they're making. So that's like I'm trying to show you a little bit behind the scenes, some of the work you have to do, all right? The other one, like you can sit there and looking at the stat page that I have right here, okay? This is all written in HTML, so if I go here and if I go view page source, so I had to write all this code for this that have all these radials. They don't do nothing, but they're easy to track when you're playing live for people to see it. So I kind of wrote this really kind of interesting code for doing this thing in a table format. And likewise, I have these guys so I can just click the buttons to take me to like my auto roll sheet because, you know, that's kind of what I like to do. That was kind of fun. I had to move everything. Like the formations down here, direction, and then the loot, which is now expanded because they got so much more going on, especially after raiding that guy's Sarak's tomb. So that's got to be helpful. As you can see, Wolfgar's now got a higher AC. Might as well bring that up. His AC is now 17 because he's got that +2 shield. So shield gives you a +1, +2 shield gives that. Sarak's sword has +1, but he says 1d10 damage, so he still gets like some big damage, 1d10 plus 3 because of his strength. So that's interesting. Like what I said, this once again, it's kind of fun to do this thing. If you're playing live, you would never have to do this. I just do this because playing online it's a little easier to see what's going on, especially when you're showing people. I also noticed another thing before we get started. These guys will not. It's the law of diminishing returns at this point. They got beat up pretty bad. There's only so much that's going to happen with the healing. And I'm not going to sit there and say, we're going to wait 2 days and heal to get everybody back up to. We're going to move on. So Wolfscar's going to start with 69 hit points the next time we play, right? McDuffin, he got almost down to 7. So he's going to start with 48. He will be starting at 44. Rasmus is at full, but he is knocked down to 46. So that's going to change a little bit of the play. I'm not going to have, I know rolling 1d8 at the end to see you get healed. Kind of like I know in 5e you get to get all your hit points back. I think that's a little over the top, but just doing 1d8 roll or whatever your thing is, 1d4 for a thief, 1d6 for a cleric, 1d8 for fighters, and 1d4 for the magic user, who seems to be the least scathed, which is pretty good. Makes it a little more challenging, but it still gives you a little bump at the end. Well, that was pretty much it. The only thing I want to talk about is that I mentioned last thing, I record off a Chromebook, and I use something called Screencast-O-Matic, and they have a web browser you can hook into that you can record directly off a Chromebook. And my son and I were analyzing this. It causes a little bit of a lag. So you'll see me get excited, or you'll hear me get excited. Oh God, this is a great roll. And then you see the roll. There's actually a couple seconds. The way it's being recorded is a couple seconds behind the audio. The audio sounds great, but the video is always lagged a little bit, especially when I'm drawing and explaining something. I'm trying to adjust and slow down a little bit so it works better, but I'm a fast talker. With that, that's all I was showing you. I was just showing you kind of the construction of this monstrosity on how it's. That's why it says 344B9. I'm following the possible routes in room 2. So when you get to room 2, I have 3, 4, 4, and 4, 9 was of course out of room 1. But level 1, as you can tell, this is going to make this really an interesting module because it's not linear, it's all over the place. All right. With that, I hope you have a wonderful day.